Welcome, everybody, to this episode of O365A. On today's episode, we're joined by longtime Microsoft expert, MVP Richard Brynteson. And today he's going to walk us through the new voice updates in OCS 2007 R2. Joking, of course. We've all known each other long enough that could be the case. But Richard's going to walk us through something a little more pertinent, Copilot agents. So he built a really useful one to respond to emails which contain basic questions. So with that, Richard, I'll turn it over to you. You can do a quick intro, and then we'll dive into your fancy agent.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me on, Richard Brynteson. I'm in Minneapolis. So it's Canada adjacent for all those curious.
We call it South Canada.
South Canada. It is like 92 and super muggy right now. So I'd prefer a little bit of more Canadian air coming down, to be honest. So yeah, been an MVP forever, and I don't pretend to say I'm an expert in Copilot Studio. I don't know if there are experts in Copilot Studio or Copilot actually at this point in time, right? I think we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go along and see what's happening. So just jump in to show you what I did and ask questions along the way. Sounds like a plan?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. All right, so I'll share my screen here. So I've been thinking about this for a long time. I've got a support help desk email. Messages come in all the time, and literally 90% of them are, I can't call them noise, you have to respond to them, but they're very basic. Like if you read anything, then you would have the answer already. So I figured, being the non-Copilot expert that I am, I should be able to just go into Copilot Studio, ask it a couple of things, and magically it'll all work. And I would love to say it was perfect out of the box. It definitely was not. It took a lot of goofing around to make it work. But so this is kind of the end result. When you create a new agent, it asks you what you want to do with your agent, and I found that to not be super helpful, actually. Like, it kind of built stuff that I needed, but it didn't really fill in the blanks. So for those who've never seen a Copilot Studio, if you've seen a Logic app or a Power Automate flow or something, I mean, it's super similar. Like, it's based on the same technology. We'll see that in a second. So everything starts with some sort of trigger. So here is my trigger. So when I created it, I said, hey, when a new email arrives, do something. That's where all of this started. And it's funny, I mentioned that. So if I click and I want to get the details, you'll see the first thing here is edit and Power Automate. So literally it is Power Automate under the hood. So Curtis, question?
Yeah, I built one, I don't know, a month ago. So a bunch of questions are popping in my head. But
yeah.
Triggers, are they like the universe of triggers available to someone in Copilot Studio? Is that all based on the connectors in Power Automate, like connectors to different systems?
I would say some of them are in there, but it's a really small subset, right? So if I came in to click to add trigger, it'll show me like the 11 featured ones, and if I go to all, there's all of 88. So I don't know what the number is in Power Automate and Logic apps, but I know it's way more than 88 at the end of the day. So you can kind of pick whatever you want and kind of do your stuff in here. The one thing that I think is kind of weird and fascinating in here is you can see I'm adding more triggers to this. So like theoretically you could have multiple triggers doing stuff, and then it all got really weird if you do that. So I would tell people, don't do that unless you really know what you're doing. But so you've got that trigger, and it is truly just, right, a Power Automate flow. So when I click that edit button, I come in here and, right, I've got, hey, if new email comes in, and in this case I limited it, right? So I just tried to bring it down to just one email input, but you obviously could filter on subjects. You can do all kind of the fun things you would do inside of from a filter perspective. What I did find interesting, if you're already trying to hack Copilot Studio, which I'm a huge fan of hacking whatever I can immediately, there's nothing nothing that stops you from right-clicking and deleting this trigger and putting in your own trigger. Like if I wanted to, I could delete this thing out and say, I want a new trigger, and now I have all of the however many there are in Power Automate. I have no clue how many there are. There's thousands, right? Go to town. So you could, it doesn't take much to kind of bypass the guardrails like right out of the gate, which I thought was kind of funny. Because once you have your trigger, I'm gonna just close this so I don't save that. No, leave, go away. Go back into it real quick.
Is it a supportability thing, Richard?
I would guess. I mean, I'm guessing Microsoft doesn't want you to just do what I just did. Sorry, internet. I have to imagine it's something to do with supportability or just, how it all works under the hood. Come on, Power Automate, you can come back to me.
Yeah, we don't expect you to have tested all 1,000 of them.
Yeah, so. I definitely have not. The only one I did. See, now I already broke it. Internet's down. Try it again. The only one I did test was I use the HTTP input or the webhook. I use that all the time, right? I have a manual URL and you just post stuff to it. I used that a few times just as a test to see if it would work. It worked perfect, which I thought suddenly changes everything, right? Because that's not on the trigger list for Copilot. But if I can now just webhook anything, any system into it, then it's your unlimited times, right?
Is the webhook still a premium connector, or did that change?
Yeah, it's premium, right? And I'm a big fan. So I will say I don't use Power Automate often. I usually use Logic Apps. That's what I tell customers to do all the time, because like Power Automate's really cool, but if, Michael created a bunch and then he left the company and we disabled his account, well, God, I hope there was nothing like mission critical in that account now that it's all gone. So I don't know. It's one of those weird things out there. So when the email comes in, you say, hey, I want to send this prompt to Copilot for processing. And down here you have the connection, and then in the body you can modify this however you want. You can actually add additional instructions in here if you want to, because whatever is in here is getting passed to the Copilot and the AI agent's going to do it. So you can add additional messaging, which I've done, and sometimes it helps with the input. But originally when I came in here, the only thing it passed, like the body, it passed everything. And this is one of the weird things, because at the end, I'm trying to reply to a specific email. So back in Copilot, there's these tools, and in the tool, you're specifying what we're going to do. And down here, right, like I want to reply to, I've got this message ID, all these kind of things. You'll see it says dynamically fill in with AI. I found that if I didn't specifically call out the reply to, it didn't always reply back to the right person. Or it didn't reply back, it just kind of stuck, it stopped. Which I thought
making up names to send emails to.
Yeah, it never hallucinated. It never was just like, well, I'm going to just send an email to, so-and-so. It never did that. It just stopped. Like the Copilot studio just didn't finish ever.
How do you protect against like someone putting prompt infos into the actual subject or body of the email?
I mean, there probably isn't anything, right? I know I remember seeing there was a news article recently. It was about this idea of, prompt. It was like a new way to hack people. And I think Microsoft might have been called out, but it was other agents were called out where people were passing in prompts in emails and then having, whatever agent read those emails, and it was picking up the prompts in the emails and going and doing the stuff, right? Which is it's a wild thing to think about, but like realistically, right? Like new email comes in, if this user had power, right? Like connect to the SQL database, right?
List all account records, yeah.
Yeah, run, delete, table, blah, 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 right? Like Copilot's it's going to read it and try to do something.
I think that that hack used HTML in the message body, and then if the recipient had HTML enabled, it actually take the action. But
yeah,
fortunately, most people have HTML disabled from external recipients.
Right. And hopefully, right, you're doing something. But yeah, I mean, I remember whatever article it was, I remember them saying like people are aware of it and they're kind of like the industry is moving along and updating stuff to kind of prevent that from happening. But I think you're going to see new stuff all the time. Okay. Sorry. I'm on the far side of COVID right now. So inside of here, still loading. Oh no, get back. Oh, here we go. All right, back on my overview. So we've got the trigger that starts the whole thing. And then oddly enough, up here, we've got like knowledge-based sources, right? So I can add additional knowledge bases, right? Public websites, SharePoint, external documents, whatever the case might be. And all that's going to happen here is Copilot's going to index it. So when it tries to come up with questions, it comes from here. And you can specify, right, web search. So we can say, hey, I don't want you to search the internet, or I do, right? Whichever one you really want. I had it set to disabled before, and now it's going to think really long and hard because I checked that box. There we go. And then the second piece then is this instruction piece. And here is where, right, I'm saying, what are you going to do? So I'm telling it, hey, read that message body that came in, and then using Copilot, go search this made up knowledge base that I created, try to find the right answer, make sure, tell me if you're confident in the answer, right? Because I wanted to know if it was like, thought it was good or bad or whatnot. I don't know. And then down here, to prevent it from just replying to everything cruddy, I said, hey, only reply if the confidence is 50% or greater. So you can set different rules, right? So it's coming up with a confidence percentage. So I could say, hey, if it's at 90% or greater, then do it. Otherwise, do something else, right? Send an email to support desk and have them answer it. And then, right, I've got my tool and we do all that kind of fun stuff. So,
hey,
questions?
Richard, curious, just with those verbal instructions, specifically the ask to return a percentage confidence score, was it able to do that out of the box?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Oh,
it did it really well. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it was kind of, at first it replied with everything and it was junk sometimes. So I had to put something in there to make sure it wasn't just replying to everything. So, cool. Other questions?
Yeah. So I was just wondering, so you've obviously used this with other people. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to think about it from like the end user that receives the email, as far as how, I guess, confident, what would their perception potentially be receiving an email response that's automated from an AI. But if I'm sending Richard a message, I'm expecting Richard's knowledge to come back to me as kind
right.
of the answer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a super fair question. I think you have to determine how you want it to come back from you, right? So I could put a note in here, right? Because I'd say in here, right, to reply back, we could update the message and say, right, reply back with the confidence, da 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 da. In the reply, make sure to indicate you are AI, right? And responding as an AI agent or something like you could have it so that you could tell it, hey, put these disclaimers on the bottom of the email, or you could have a standard disclaimer, right? This is an automatic response from AI. If this doesn't solve your problem, or a support person will reach out to you still within the next 24 hours, right? Yeah. But maybe you've already answered the question, and by the time you've written back, reply again, did this solve your problem? Like maybe it's already solved for them, right? I don't know.
I definitely see it from like the support perspective, like just trying to reduce the amount of emails that are coming in that can be automated for like responses from knowledge base, FAQs, whatever. Is there a way to sort of like train it on how you respond to messages to say that, hey, this is how I contextually respond to messages, respond kind of like in this nature, so that people
100%.
would kind of understand like, well, maybe it is Richard actually replying, right? Because the way that the response is generated.
Yeah, what you could do is you could come into the knowledge and upload a bunch of sample emails, right? That this is how I reply, this is my context, this is my tone, all these things. And then in the prompt, you would reference back to that knowledge base. When you're replying, use the document, whatever you called it, to generate your response in my tone. So it sounds like it's coming from me, right? Whatever the case might be. So yeah, it definitely can do that. It gets a little weird. I don't know if it perfectly encapsulates my level of sarcasm at times, but it gets pretty close.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so at the end of the day, that's the piece, right? What additional knowledge can I throw up there so that it kind of learns along the way? That's kind of the trick, I think.
On that,
and that's the big selling point, right? That they say like it's continuously learning. I don't know how to prove that or not, but it's in the sales deck.
On that instructions panel, is it just like a free-form text box? Like, does it help guide you in how to instruct this? Of like, hey, we have triggers, we have tools, we have knowledge bases, like how to talk to the things to make it do it? No?
Nope, not at all. And I think that's where I ran into some of the problems at the beginning, because it would, like when you go under activity, you can see the runs that it went through. And some of these, right, like mine originally, it would get to the part where it would search the sources, but it would never reply back. It would get to one stop and just literally stop. And I'm like, well, that sucked. So it wasn't until I got really specific in the instructions saying reply back with this tool, then it actually did it.
So it is interesting that it's not doing like the suggested prompts like it does in like Copilot of like, it knows what you've completed, like put it into this. Like, why not make a suggested like format of talking to pieces?
When you create a new agent, it kind of walks you. It does a Copilot kind of like, what are you trying to do? What do you want to name it? Right? You kind of do this back and forth. So it tries to do some of those things. But what I found was in my case, it couldn't create the trigger for me, because this trigger is to an email box. And even though I'd say use this email box, it still couldn't go do the connection in Power Automate and do all that. So I still had to create it manually. Same with the tool. So it tries to, but it doesn't get very far. It's the best way to say it. Once it's there, it's neat, right? I think that's the key piece. If you've interacted with ChatGPT or one of these things and you've kind of done this back and forth a bunch of times, you get better at kind of writing the instruction.
And have you tried different models? Oh, sorry, so do you know how to sign up?
Yeah, I did. Yep. No, I've definitely flipped. You don't have a lot of model options in here. Last time I looked, it was 2. Where did it go? It's in here somewhere. But yeah, it was just 2 different models. It's under agent details, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it was not super exciting by any stretch. Dino, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm curious, without the 50% confidence prompt, like how did things work out? Like, I feel like you had to add that in.
Oh, we replied all the time.
Solve an issue.
Yeah, it didn't respond with the right information oftentimes. Right. It would just give nonsense.
And 50 seemed to be the sweet spot. Like, what if you went to 100%? Then it wouldn't.
It would never do 100. It never says 100. Yeah, you'd have to pick something like 75 or 80 or something like that.
Gotcha.
What I did do, I took it out of here as in one of the prompts because I was kind of playing with it. Because again, you can be super specific. So I was telling it to write it as HTML, and I also said at the end to to include any links you used to come up with this answer. So it started prepending all the support links in the email, which was, I thought, super helpful, neater. At least you could troubleshoot then, right? Like what it was or wasn't figuring it out, that kind of stuff. But I think that's the biggest trick is, you know, I don't want to say there's no logging, but there's not great logging is how I would say it, right? Like if you come to the activity panel and I look at, you know, this is an automated one from, you know, a couple weeks ago, it, you know, it shows you what the email is. It tells you that it's searching, doesn't tell you what it found, it just says, hey, we're searching. And then it puts together the string of the reply, right? And here you can see the confidence level is 85%, right? But that's what you get. That is your logging at this point in time. So there's a little bit of black box AI magic that's happening that you don't know why it's doing that. So again, being more descriptive in the instructions helps, but there is a limit. They limit it to, I did it once, I exceeded it. I think it's like 4,000 tokens. Don't quote me on that, internet. Someone will correct me. But there is definitely a token limit. It will just die. It'll tell you your input's too large and just stop immediately. So.
Hey, Richard, while I think of it, speaking of token limits and stuff, I'm trying to remember the licensing for Copilot Studio. Back when I used it, I think there was a free trial that you could keep extending. Yeah. Is that sort of the same case?
Yeah, there's definitely a trial. It's $200 a month, if I remember correctly, for just to be able to use Copilot Studio. That's the street price of it. And then I believe there's some pricing that goes into like the number of times it runs and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I'm under the free trial, so I'll hit delete before I have to start paying for it. Because I was just testing, I was playing around with it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely costs involved, right? I mean, Microsoft's not going to give this to you for free. You need to make $1 or $2 somewhere along the way.
I seem to remember the limits on the Copilot Studio free trial were pretty generous. Like you'd have to have something like 20,000 requests or something before you actually
I haven't run into any limits at this point in time. I've kind of I really just kind of banged around with it for a few weeks and tried to break it as many different ways as I could. So, but yeah, the other piece, I guess I've done a little bit of it, but there is this other agent piece, which is newer in Copilot Studio. So you can connect agents to other agents, so you can kind of chain them all together. So if you had a bunch of flows, you could have one flow kick another flow off, so on and so forth. So you definitely have that power to kind of chain those agents together and do some kind of cool and crazy stuff, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. Yeah, that's I think the big items. Got analytics, some other stuff. And I haven't touched the topics yet, but the topics is primarily more for if you're actually like text chatting with the agent, right? If they say these words, do these things. If they say these words, do these things. Not really for an email trigger like I have in my case.
So, Richard, since you've developed this practically, how useful has it been?
It's worked, right? So I turned it off. You can see it hasn't run in the last 7 days. So I had it going for a while just to see what the reaction would be. The biggest problem, and I haven't done the logic yet for it, but if you think about it, I'm triggering this on every new email. So if you send me the first email and you say, hey, I need help on X, Y, and Z, my agent replies to you, awesome. Well, what if they reply to that AI response? Well, the AI is going to respond again, right? So you kind of get in this world where the AI just keeps replying back and back and back forever and ever, which isn't super helpful. And my guess is if you go down that rabbit hole far enough, you probably will get some really weird results. So one of the things I was thinking about is, right, and maybe the easiest thing goes back to that subject filter. If it's a reply to a message, automatically ignore it, right? Only reply in the first case, those kind of things. But that was the first thing that immediately got me, was that second reply, and when the AI agent took it and, ran. I was like, oh, that's not helpful at all, actually. Goes back to that, what will end users think? They'll think you're kind of an idiot after a while if you just keep replying back with the AI answer that's wrong over and over again. But I do think there's real, there is real potential for this stuff, right? Like and at the end of the day, I think all of this Copilot Studio and all the AI agent stuff is super cool marketing term, but it really is just logic apps and Power Automate under the hood, right? Like that really is what's happening here. If I wanted to, you could build this whole thing today in a logic app, right? Like you can do an email trigger. I can read the email. I can connect to Azure OpenAI in a logic app. I can do all the same prompting stuff. I can, so I think that it does a lot of what was there before, but it's brought a lot of tools together to make it easier for people to figure out. So
yeah, and then of course the key differentiator here is using a large language model to interpret the text and being able to respond, right? Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was very cool, Richard. Great example of an agent and one that's practically useful. So really appreciate you coming on, walking us through that. And,
absolutely.
We'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.